Welcome in to week 11 of NBC's college football betting Q&A. I am Vaughn Dalzell. That is Eric Froton, and we are live from Happy Valley from Michigan at Penn State. I'm excited, Eric. How are we doing today?
You might not realize it, but Vaughn and I are actually in the same house right now. I'm in the upstairs attic. Vaughn is obviously in the penthouse where he belongs, in the nicer section. So we are very excited to be bringing you a few more plays as well when we get to the game at Penn State, Michigan. But in the meantime, let's get to capping.
Yeah, let's get to capping, baby. Our favorite thing to do. We got Michigan laying 4.5 at Penn State, over under 44.5, Eric. And this line's moved a lot because Jim Harbaugh will not be on the sidelines. We won't see him today when we're chilling on the sidelines because he's suspended, but they're going to try and see what they can do about that for the Ohio State game. But as of today, I like the Wolverines still. I'm going to be playing them two different ways. Now, you could have guessed. Everyone could guess. But Penn State team total under 20.5 and Michigan minus the 4 is what I played. I'm good at the 4.5. Now, Eric, I know you'll be on the opposite side. You want to see an upset today. I don't think it's going to happen because Penn State is 93rd in red zone defense. Michigan is going to eat up in that category. And Drew Allar is 54th in passing efficiency this season as a team with Penn State. So I just see Michigan rolling in this one. They're best defensive team in the country. And I'm going to trust J.J. McCarthy, who tweeted out my favorite word in the world yesterday, bet. Yeah, he's ready.
He did. He tweeted out bet. Well, I mean, he's in the right place then, if that's what he's tweeting out. I actually agree with you, in the sense that Penn State is able to be passed on. If you look at their, recent history, they've only gone under a quarterback throwing for 250 plus yards twice all season. And you have J.J. McCarthy, who opened actually at 240. You can find him right now on Prize Picks if you have access to that at 240.5. I think that's a smoke show line. He's looking around 260 or so on the domestics. As low as you can find that passing yards line, I would take it because I think he's not going to have trouble passing on this defense today. I'm not saying that they're going to win, as you're saying, Vaughn, but I do feel confident in Michigan being able to pass on Penn State. Other teams who have inferior offenses have been able to do it. We just saw Indiana do it and Sorsby. So I am backing the over on J.J. McCarthy. And but I do admittedly, if you can get it at 4.5, still get that hook with 234 on DraftKings. Love it. Thank you, Kenan Schrank. Kenan's one of the great commenters we have. Be careful on that line with JJ. Definitely shop it because I've seen it at a couple different levels. So that's where I'm at on that. I don't think right now FanDuel, at 300 plus passing yards, I think he was right around just a little over 2-1. I wanted to get a little bit better odds, but I do think an alt line certainly in play and to shop that too.
And what was the official play you're giving out for JJ McCarthy here? Because I know it's different.
Over 234.5 passing yards on JJ McCarthy against the Penn State defense. I mean, if they're going over to quarterback 7 out of 9 times, and this is Michigan here, I have to feel good about that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that too. And Penn State's defense, obviously one of the best in the country. But we've seen the difference, Eric, between Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State's defense, in my opinion. And I'm not going to hold what they did last week too high in standards. So we'll talk more about this game because we got 2 guests on the show today. Mike Bainbridge and Trista Crick, who went 6-0 the last 2 weeks with us. So we're happy to have them back here. But for Michigan
they
at
earned
Penn
their
State,
spots. Yeah.
They really did. They really did. And for Eric and I, we're going to rock with J.J. McCarthy over 234.5 passing yards. Michigan minus the 4 to 4.5, and Penn State's team total under 20.5. So, Eric, let's talk some ladders and money line sprinkles before we get Mike in here. So, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, well, I think one of the best plays of the week, frankly, is Graham Mertz, currently sitting at 245.5 passing yards on Prize Picks. He's actually around that 260 mark right now. I think, 255, 260 on domestics. I mean, we're in Pennsylvania, so I haven't been able to actually update in the morning because they won't let us access.
Sucks.
I can't even look anything. I can't even look at lines here for college football props. So I am a little bit in the dark in that respect. But I love 245.5 Prize Picks, around 260 on the domestics. His alt line at 300 plus passing yards is plus 220. His 325 is plus 360. I believe that's on FanDuel. I mean, this is LSU. This is what LSU's defense breeds. And with Mertz in Florida, Eugene Wilson coming up, Ricky Pearsall, the always effective. He's essentially the Hunter Renfrow, to use an NFL or a former Clemson receiver of this offense, I don't think they're going to have any problem passing on LSU. This is a smash play. And frankly, I consider it a best bet because it's a ladder. But either one of those 300, 325, depending on which you feel more comfortable with putting in a parlay, I am absolutely 100% behind. And this is a play that I gave out during the week in my column. Jalen Wright started out at 66.5 rushing yards when I put it out. This is all the way up to 76. I still think that 110 plus rushing yardage line at plus 280 is certainly worth considering as well. We were getting it in the plus, over 300, 3-1 range earlier in the week, and it's kind of come down. But he has hit that in all but 2 games this year. It's hard to sit here and look at that Missouri team and say, oh yeah, they're going to stop Jalen Wright in terms of his ability to run. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not really what Missouri does. That being said, strong, even at 76.5, even though it's gone up 10 yards. Yes, we're betting a settled line, but that's still a go for me. And when we get to our best bets, I have one more ladder play for that.
I love it. Coming in with all the plus money plays. And I got to say, I love the Mertz one too, because he's looked totally different from going from Wisconsin's, NFL style offense, ground and pound, to Florida's now a little bit of air raid, let him shotgun, get from out from under center into the shotgun. I think that's been most important for him, Eric. So I definitely love both of those plays. For my money line sprinkles, we already know Utah and Ole Miss, we're going to make the clip. We're fading Georgia and Washington for today and next week. I think that they can lose one game. If they do, we're going to get good money on these plays. But the other one is Colorado. And I want your opinion on this, Eric, before we bring Mike in, because the Buffalo's taking on Arizona. You have Arizona as a top 25 team, but the Wildcats, they might be a little fraudulent in my mind. I think they're riding really high right now, and this is the best sell point on Arizona. And for Colorado, I didn't know this before, but Deion Sanders said there's been 4 or 5 fights in practice this week, and he said they're rededicated. Don't know if I believe it fully, but I think they can get the win here. Do you believe that or not?
Well, I hope a couple of the pugilists are the offensive linemen who have been allowing UCLA and Oregon State and every other team on the schedule to absolutely rip them apart on a weekly basis. That's got to be factored in. But they are playing Arizona this week, and I'll tell you, I do have Travis Hunter as another one of my ladder plays and over at 63.5 receiving yards. I mean, this is Shedeur Sanders' adopted brother. If there's anybody, we've seen the elite, high-end talent. And with Colorado, what are they going to do? Oh, they're going to throw the ball. They're ripping 40 passes a game, week in, week out. The only weeks they didn't were really against Oregon, in terms of recently, and then they're, the first game of the season. So with their pass script being so heavy, I just think you have to look at the passing overs. And Weaver's been a little bit kind of up and down since Hunter came back from his injury. He's eclipsed 110 yards twice in those 3 games. And currently that ladder is sitting at 310, plus 310 at the over 100 yards. I think you got to kick that around. If he goes big. That's the thing. He won't just clear it by a little bit. He will go all the way. And this is going to be, in my estimation, with Fafita, Tedero McMillan, Jacob Cowing, who at 53.5 is certainly a credible over. I wouldn't blame anybody for that since he's getting double-digit targets on average. So I think that you're looking at an over script here in this game, and I am backing Hunter.
Yeah, I love that play too, man. I think this is going to be a very exciting game. I think today is going to be some of the best college football we've seen in the past couple of weeks, Eric. I think we're going to be in for some goodies, a lot of upsets, a lot of overs, but, I'll be on my unders. Got to pick those out too. Let's get our guy in here. 3-0, Mike Bainbridge. He was killing it for us last week. Yeah, get up, everybody. Make some noise. He's got the Michigan hat on.
He knows what week it is.
Yes! Yes!
There it is.
Yes! My God. I wish you were coming to the game, Mike. Forget about Eric. There's Mike, Dad. How we doing today?
We're doing good. I'm rushed again because similar to last week, Eric is sending me like 4 to 5 plays to put in before while I'm prepping.
Were you guys on the phone upstairs?
Yeah.
I heard you.
Yeah. Free Harbaugh. What about free Froton from Pennsylvania where I can make some wagers? Come on now.
I got you. I got him in Froton.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, so no, I love it. Now, thanks for joining us again, Mike. So we're looking at a couple plays today, man, and couple games that we may already went over. We're going to go over again with you, but I want to start in the SEC if we can do that, because I feel we did that last week too. Florida and LSU is going to be a great game. Eric is all over Graham Mertz, but you're over a receiver in this game. Why don't you give it to us?
Yeah, it's just a line that's simply too low, in my opinion. Brian Thomas at LSU, over 58.5 receiving yards. He's at even odds over at Caesars if you want to jump on that one now. Again, it's just too low. We got a 20-yard edge in the CFF site projections with this line. And I don't know, it's kind of strange with Brian Thomas because you look at his logs and he's kind of looking like the 2022 version of himself. Just kind of hit or miss, hot and cold. He had 8 touchdowns within the first 5 games of the season this year, and he was looking like an absolute stud, kind of come down back to earth. But again, it's a very low line for him at 58.5. And I really like the kind of game script narrative here with the LSU offense. Logan Diggs starting running back, doubtful. Jaden Daniels is obviously a go this week as it was announced yesterday. So you're down a starting running back, got your starting quarterback, Heisman Trophy candidate. I just kind of like the way this game might play out. 68 game total, I believe, 67.5. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a high scoring affair. And if you're down your starting running back, I see LSU airing it out with its 2 stud receivers here.
Yeah, on this show, we talk a lot about backwards looking lines, how Vegas and the domestics have a tendency to overreact towards what has happened just last week and say, all right, well, this becomes the baseline. With Brian Thomas, he's cleared this line in 7 out of 9 games. Just because he didn't hit it last week against Alabama, where he caught 3 of 6 for 36 yards. Okay, that was Alabama. Now we're moving over to Florida, who, again, has been very passive on the defensive end, as LSU has. I just think we're wheels up for this game. Great call, Mike.
I would say his snap counts and routes run each week haven't really deviated much, right? So he's still on the field. Just, you can't blame Jaden Daniels for throwing it 16 times to Malik Neighbors, right? So
no. But Thomas has vaulted himself into day 2 territory for NFL draft purposes. So, he has to be respected as well.
Yeah, and he's the guy we hyped up too early on this show. Our co-host who we missed, Brad Thomas, talked about Brian Thomas a lot this season, and he's definitely taken off. This next pick, though, because we got the chat saying Mike with the sweep again, but if Mike sweeps, that means Eric loses this next pick because you guys are going head-to-head. So I smell roast beef in the air. Eric, if you want to offer it up to him, offer up the roast beef bet. It's all yours.
The Tyler Van Dyke. So Mike is over on Tyler Van Dyke. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's an under, Vaughn. I thought he's under. We're both under.
We're going to do under here. Yeah.
That is a misprint, Vaughn. That's a misprint, apparently.
I'm looking at the text message. And
I know. I probably screwed that up.
Yeah. It's okay. I got so excited.
Oh, really? Because I was like, wow, I know, I'm on the other side. Like, that was one of the plays I put into Mike. So,
well, tell us why the others don't hit then, guys.
Yeah, I think, this is college football player prop betting precedent, right? You have a quarterback that might not start today. If you go and search on the Miami message boards, they have multiple polls on their message boards of who's going to start for Miami at quarterback. I think I might even like this line under if we knew that he was for sure starting today, because Florida State is going to get after him. I don't think Tyler Van Dyke is 100% healthy, too. He's got 5 interceptions, 0 touchdowns in the last 2 games against 2, mediocre defenses. I think he's really going to struggle if he gets the start here against Florida State, which is a big if. So I'm going under here. I'm taking the juice still at -130. If you want to pair him with in a quick 2-player parlay, to increase the odds here with one of our suggestions on the show, I would do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We even talked about Van Dyke a little bit in the last show. I won't kind of belabor the point, but he is, there's no doubt to me that he is extremely compromised in terms of health. Huge knee brace, looks like Steve Austin walking out there, late stage stone cold with the double knee brace, and rumors of a hand/arm injury as well. He's shorting balls. I don't see the arm velocity, and they're playing Florida State. Bad news.
Yeah, it's funny. I heard this rumor too that I guess there's some contention in the Miami locker room that they're still holding a grudge. Some of the players over that possible transfer rumor to Alabama over the offseason too. So it's just a culmination of things that I think all point to the under here with Van Dyke.
I thought you were going to point to saying the fumble early in the season is what they're still holding on to. I said, because they're playing like it. They certainly can't get over that moment. But, Mike, obviously, we have to talk Michigan and Penn State with you. You got the hat on. You rocked them last time you were on. And now today, I'm going to be the only person in the stadium rooting for the Wolverines from the sideline. So wish me luck. What's your play? There'll be a few more. I did see a few on the way. I saw a couple that was going hard on the way here. But who you got player prop wise in Michigan-Penn State?
Yeah, I'm taking Colston Loveland, the sophomore tight end, over 32.5 receiving yards. He's actually minus 110 still at Bet Rivers, and everywhere else you look, he's at 35.5. So you're getting a little bit of line value there with Loveland. He's been heavily targeted the last 3 games, so they're really starting to kind of ramp up his usage in the Michigan passing game. And I think, and Eric's going to talk about this, I think, later in the show. And he mentioned this in his column this week. These starters for Michigan have only played 2.5, 3 quarters each game, right? He's going to play a full 4 quarters today, and he's hit this over easily, playing 2.5 quarters in the last 3 games. So I trust Loveland. I think, people comped him to Brock Bowers earlier in the year. That's obviously a high standard to reach, but you can see the talent there with Loveland. So I like this over, and I think Eric's going to agree that Michigan's going to have to throw today to win this game.
I completely agree, and that's why, I maybe you weren't on for this, but I had already touted J.J. McCarthy's over at the 240.5 passing yards, and even potentially his ladder if you can find good odds on it. So, yeah, wheels up. That's, as stated, 250 yards, using that as the benchmark. 7 of 9 times teams have gone over that passing-wise against Penn State. So give me that passing game for Michigan.
Yeah, we got a question here in the chat for you, Mike. Would you go ladder on Loveland, and what would you play it up to? Would you go 50-plus yards, 60-plus?
50 would be the peak of where I'd go with Loveland, yeah.
50-plus odds. Love that. And thank you for the question, Cannon. Make sure you guys drop all your questions and takes today, especially Michigan versus Penn State once we want to hear them all. Mike's plays, Brian Thomas, over 58.5 receiving yards. Tyler Van Dyke, under 230.5 passing yards. That's now minus 130 odds. And then Colston Loveland, over 32.5 receiving yards. Mike also got to leave us with a People's Parlay leg. Last time you were on, it didn't work out. I think we went 2-3 as a group. So don't even worry about yourself. All right. Give us the winner, the bounce back pick.
I am going UAB and Navy over 53.5 points. I just think this is a strength on strength and weakness on weakness type matchup here. Navy, triple option. Obviously, they can run the football. UAB is 133rd in rush D success rate. I think the only danger with the over there is if Navy just controls the clock and time of possession, right? And just kind of bleeds clock, and it's a slower pace game. But on the flip side, UAB, I mean, people were criticizing Trent Dilfer. I mean, he might be a head case or what have you, but that offense is humming. Offensive coordinator Alex Mortensen, Chris Mortensen's son, first-time play caller, I believe, revitalized Jacob Zeno's career. I mean, he is a college fantasy stud this year, probably top 20 quarterback, I would believe, Eric. But Navy's terrible against the pass too. So again, strength on strength here. Both defenses are very susceptible, just in every which way. So taking the over there for UAB and Navy.
Love that call there. I think we got a winner here. I like this one a lot more than last week. And last week, 2 weeks, I actually took your winner away because you wanted to go Temple. And I said no.
Yeah, they won by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and they were
fault.
They were the dogs too. It was me too. It was all of us. But it's okay. We got this winner back in our bag. I think it's 4-0 for Mike today. Eric, your parting thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, great plays on all around. I bet all of them myself, so we are all in lockstep for these plays. Wheels up.
Wheels up, baby. And go blue, Mike. Thanks for coming on today.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. That was Mike Bainbridge. Again, his plays over 58 receiving yards for Brian Thomas, under 230 for Van Dyke. That's what Eric's also on. And then Colston Loveland over 32.5. All right, Eric, I say we go to one or two of your plays, then we'll get into the Big Ten game of the week.
Yeah, well, in terms of the Big Ten game of the week, that is Michigan at Ohio State. I like a particular play, Kattenhauser. They keep listing him, even though it's kind of a shared QB situation with Sam love it or leave it. Levitt, of course. He's listed under 125 and a half passing yards. Now, last game, he did manage to crawl over that because they managed to, achieve an upset. That being said, the week before against Ohio State, that wasn't happening. He only got out there for about, 2.5 quarters. And then Sam Levitt came in because if they're going to be, it wasn't Ohio State. That was against Michigan. Because if they're going to be playing, and you're going to be failing and scoring no points in a full half, well, you might as well have somebody else come in to see if they can do it. Noah Kim injured. Peyton Thorne transferred before the season. They're trying to find any combination that works. There is a high probability that Sam Levitt gets at least a couple series here, which against the vaunted Ohio State defense, I think you're really asking for problems with the uncertainty under center for Michigan State. For Hauser, I am going to take a speculative play on under 125 and a half passing yards.
I'm with you in that retrospect because I definitely looked at Michigan State's team total under 7.5. The first half team total under 2.5. If they didn't think they were going to score at all, I think it's going to be tough going. Ohio State's defense may have had moments this year where they've slipped, Eric, but I think they still are a top 5 unit. Laying 31 points with a total of 47 normally means one team is not going to score and the other team is going to score. But what I like about this one, and that's the obvious point, but what I like about this one is the historical aspect that gives me Ohio State over 4.5 team touchdowns. Now, this is only available on certain books. I found it on DK, but you can shop around and get, a team total to match this or find the team props in general. But Ohio State has scored at least 6 touchdowns in the last 3 meetings against Michigan State and at least 4 in 5 of the last 6. I don't see a situation where Ohio State scores less than 31 or 35 points, Eric. 28 points is the minimum for Ohio State in this game, and I think they score at least 5 touchdowns. So I took this juice. It was close to being a best bet. I love my unders for best bets, but I think this play is a great play and probably the best angle to attack Ohio State because the team total's 38.5. So technically you're going to need 6 touchdowns to probably hit that or 5+ and some field goals.
Yeah, you're asking a lot from that play. I have no problem with that. 4.5 touch. It seems pretty reasonable, frankly, if not extremely likely, Yeah. So, yeah, good. Go on that. Another play that I have that I'm particularly bullish on, we're going to take a look at the Georgia-Ole Miss game. I think this game is going over, and it's going over by a considerable margin. Carson Beck is a guy I've pretty much been playing this over every week. They've kept it very reasonable. Started out about 280. It's actually around 277.5 right now. I'm going to advocate on that. I don't think I need to belabor his point too much, but I have all the C2C shares of Carson Beck, as well as numerous college fantasy shares all about him. But that being said, on the other side, Jackson Dart too. Let's not forget, similar to the vein of Penn State, if you're going to beat or advance the ball on Georgia, we've seen teams be able to do it in a way that they certainly weren't allowing the previous 2 seasons. That certainly has been a theme. I think Jackson Dart has really rebuilt his stock in his 3rd season after, having a little tumult over in USC, coming over with Lane last year, bringing in Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard behind him, but he has persevered and the challenge has actually made him better. So I am all about Jackson Dart, a very reasonable 216.5 passing yardage, where I think it's reasonable to expect that Georgia will be winning this game. But Dart's been able to clear that pretty easily in terms of 4 of the last 6 games, if not 5. And with the script they're going to get, Trey Harris is back. That's a huge factor. When he was out, it was hard for Mississippi to pass the ball as much. Jordan Watkins broke his hand. He's 3 weeks removed from that, played last week and was effective. I think he's wheels up too. So, I think we're going to get a sincere over game script here. And I like both of these quarterbacks to duel it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to disagree with any of those plays because I've been impressed with Jackson Dart in a lot of ways. I mean, Ole Miss's offense is just so up-tempo, up-pace, so playing overs, I think, is always a smart direction to go. And Lad McConkey, I mean, he's a friend of the show. He's made us some good money last year, so we got to keep riding that train.
Love Vlad. Absolutely. I already have Vlad McConkey. Got him at 58.5. He's actually up to around 66.5 right now, which, frankly, I think is even a little low considering what he's been asked to do each of the past games. He has been the focal point of that passing game with Brock Bowers out. Brock Bowers has been rumored to be practicing this week. I don't think we see him. If so, it'll even be in a limited capacity. But Karen Shetty and Cannon Schrank. Cannon, Dart, 275 yards is plus 380. Definitely worth kicking around in terms of a ladder play, but 275 is so much higher. I mean, we're talking about 60 yards, 59 yards higher than that 216. I just feel like 216 is safe. If you want to take a sprinkle on the alt, I'm certainly in support of that, but like 216 is a very safe, solid line if you're looking to take that over and just take the money and run. Yeah,
how do you feel about the 27 pass attempts? Think he's throwing 30 plus?
Pretty good. Yes. I mean, they're going to be in that kind of a script. I mean, I also like the prospect of Judkins, who I think, he was opened right around the 67.5 mark. We're seeing that those high 60s, mid 60s on a lot of players this week. It seems like that's a range that some of the more successful players have settled at on the books. Mm-hmm. And I do think, I mean, I'm always looking for a reason to go under. But this game in particular really gives me the over vibes, especially with Cody Schrader going for $112 last week. And you tell me Quinshon Judkins can't? I feel good about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely consider this game for an over too, because I have a couple game picks today. I try to stay 5 picks or less. Eric, I know you spray the board because you find value consistently in the prop market, but since I don't have props, I have to keep it play it safe. So that was almost a play, Ole Miss and Georgia over, but I went with an under. And Gary hit this earlier in the chat. He said, I know everybody is loving on the Iowa under. It's 28 and 28 and a half at most places. I mean, what's not to love, Eric? First off, Iowa's now set the record for this season's lowest point total, I think 3 of the last 4 weeks in a row. Like,
this is the lowest point total since 2000.
Since 2000.
2000, the millennium.
2000. Yeah, that's 22 years for people who can't count. That's awesome. I'm kidding. It's 23. But I love this game because both quarterbacks are atrocious. We've talked about the offenses all season, how they haven't been able to move the ball. I think Rutgers' game, Eric, against Ohio State last week was a little fake, a little fraudulent. People were very excited to live bet Rutgers go get them there, and then Ohio State kind of put the wheels down. So I'm going under still. There's nothing taking me off this game. Actually, the 3 times they've met, these were the scores: 30-0, 27-10, and 14-7. We've had 3 very low scoring games. And the one time that Rutgers went to Iowa City, what did they put up? 0, a dud. I don't know if they score more than a touchdown today. So I'm going under 28.5, playable to 28. Eric, any plays in this Big Ten juggernaut match?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that with DraftKings and a couple other books listed Nico Reganey and Deontay Vines. Reganey at 21.5, Vines at 20.5. I just think, and you got the Deacon Blues at 99.5. I think even that's a little just too low. I can't even take an under on that just because it's in double digits. But I do think that you can find some value on the unders for the 2 wide receivers, 21.5, 20.5. These guys have
that's crazy.
Barely sniffed that. Like Reganey's won for his last 8 to that number, and he was up at 29.5 last game. You're seeing there. I also like, as another play on Underdog, I saw Addison Ostrenga, their tight end. He was at 10.5 receiving yards. I saw on Underdog. I think that's good up to 20.5. Frankly, he got 10 targets. Last week, went for 45 yards. If you're the tight end in Iowa's offense, you are going to get looks. It's that
number
simple.
2 option.
And at that point, it's just a math game. I'd play that up to probably even 24.5. Probably, I think 25 is probably a realistic line for that. There's plenty of value on him. I strongly recommend taking a look at what you can get on that tight end. If you can find that anywhere on any of your books, take that Ostrenga over receiving yardage. Easy call on that.
I like that. Yeah, tight ends in Iowa are normally the number 2 option behind the running back, and if they're not behind the running back, then they're obviously number 1. There's been a lot of great tight ends come out of Iowa too, so I like that. It's hilarious seeing 2 top receivers with 21 and 20.5 point receiving yard totals, Eric, but 15 points or less in the last 3 games from Iowa's offense. You're not getting much out of them here. I'm going to head to a game that has a lot of offense. I'm going to talk about Oregon and USC. And do you have any plays in this game? Because I think there's going to be a lot of points, but only on one side, Eric.
I kind of want to watch the fireworks. Nick's is a pretty good, reasonable number at 320.5. Caleb's at 290.5, but he's been kind of dancing around that a little bit. And the way Oregon snuffed out Colorado's pass-heavy offense, that does give me just a little pause whether they'll get the volume to do that. I do kind of like Brendan Rice, though. He's the most reasonably listed of the USC wide receivers, listed around 43.5, 45.5. I think that's worth a speculative play, but I don't have a strong particular play in this game other than, just wanting to watch it and enjoy the festivities. Let's see how this goes. But, if you're looking to get something, you want to get a little action later on, I think I lean that over 43.5 receiving yards, Brendan Rice. He's the GOAT's son, Jerry Rice's son. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, he is the best receiver on that team too. But I'm curious to see how Caleb Williams plays today, Eric, because you saw him after the last game, after they lost their third game. The season's over at that point. You're not winning the Pac-12. You're not making the College Football Playoff. You're playing for a bowl game. You're trying to stay healthy. Caleb Williams' draft stock right now is a top 3 prospect, should be the number 1 overall pick probably. So he needs to stay healthy. And if Oregon's top 25 defense gets at him, it's over. He's going to give up super quick and to get out of this game. And I think this is a situation where I don't trust USC's offense or defense, honestly. I mean, we know we don't trust the defense. So I'm laying it with Oregon because in Caleb Williams' career, when they play a top 25 team, he has 6 touchdowns to 6 picks. He doesn't average over 170 passing yards, and he has more losses than wins. And if you think that, Oregon's defense isn't going to hold USC around 30 points or less, I think you're silly because I think the Ducks are going to be the best team that USC is going to play all season. So I laid the 15.5, Eric. I haven't played too many spreads of this nature this season, but I'm really confident here that Oregon just lays it to USC and wins by 3 touchdowns.
Amen. Well, let's see how that goes here. And everybody wins with this game. It should be a very interesting contest, body of action.
Yeah, love that. Where you want to head over to the prop market? We got about 8 minutes before Trista comes in here, so we got plenty of time to go over plays.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, we can go to an All-American, right? We got to make sure we visit our player props All-Americans. Cam Porter, running back, Northwestern. Every single week.
Every week.
Bless the books for continuing to put him out. Under 39.5 receiving yards. This week we get Wisconsin. Are you kidding me? Okay, yeah, great. They're going to Camp Randall, and they're going to run on Wisconsin. No, they're not. This is Northwestern. That's not happening. Anthony Tyus has continued to cut into the workload for Cam Porter. Each week, for some reason, they keep putting him up there right in that 48 range. I don't see it again. Out of principle, I feel like we have to continue rolling with this. He keeps paying us out. One of these weeks, he'll probably beat us. But until he does, and with playing, a quality defense led by Luke Fickell over there with Wisconsin, I have to go under. Come on now. So let's roll with that.
2 questions. 1, what is your record this season betting the under on Cam Porter? And 2, who was more All-American for us, Chase Brown of last year or Cam Porter this year?
Chase Brown was pretty great for his over, but they started to catch on later in the season and made him higher and higher, even though he just kept getting all the carries for Illinois. I feel like Cam Porter has been so good to us. I want to say I'm probably 6-1. I think he beat me one time. I think one time he got me. Other times I've been putting him out anytime they will, and they haven't stopped. He went for 36 last week in a game that certainly was not to the level of what we're expecting here with Wisconsin's defense. So I mean, if they're going to keep, they actually increased it after he went for 36 to 39.5. I just don't see it, and I will continue to bet his under. Another All-American. Well, I can't say he's All-American, but another player that I am certainly taking a look at and taking a position on and have wagered on is Garrett Green, quarterback, West Virginia versus Oklahoma. At Oklahoma. Just about every quarterback that has played Oklahoma has gone over this 200 yards. like almost every single one. The fact that he's at 191.5, I feel like his line should be in the low twos, maybe like in the 210 range. I feel like you're getting about 20 yards of value if you can get him at that 191.5. I've seen, potentially he might tick up to the 198.5 mark, but I think you're going to see points in this game. Vaughn's got the screen, 44.5 rushing yards. I think that should be considered too. Green, they're a run-based offense certainly behind him. He drives the whole bus there, and they've been rotating running backs a little bit, alongside C.J. Donaldson, Justin Johnson getting some carries as well last week. True freshman stud coming in. So I like the over just in terms of the game script. I also think you probably see Dylan Gabriel go over a very reasonable 267.5 passing yards. I think he's probably should be in the 285 range here. If you're finding an attempts line that's anything under 35, I like that as well. He's typically in Big 12 play has been going for at least 38 passing attempts. So I do think you have another over game script with this particular game, and that's why I'm kind of backing those for the signal callers.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of points in the rest of Oklahoma's season now that they, they're not going to be eligible for the college football playoff. And West Virginia's team, I like Garrett Green, man. He's had wheels all season long, and he hasn't slowed down. So I'm definitely with you on that pick. I wanted to mention with Michigan's team total under to their opponents and Cam Porter, that means we're 13-3 on those two plays specifically all season, Eric. Those have been breadwinners for us. So we'll keep running those back. Yeah, every week on here. Can you tell me more about Haynes King? Because I was pretty disappointed last week. I lied bet Notre Dame. And, man, that was a team I was 100% wrong on earlier this season. Fighting Irish did not come to play this year like we thought they would.
Yeah, well, are you down with the King? As
always down with the King.
Run DMC once wrapped, of course. Who can forget down with the King? Yeah, that's when I repurposed. We had De'Ara King for a while. You could say you're down with the King. But now it's Haynes King, because if you look at his week in, week out rushing yardage line, I mean, he is one of the better unheralded dual threat signal callers, I feel like, at least in the ACC and probably in the Power 5 in general. You see a lot more of that in the Group of 5, but dude, they rely heavily on his ability to do the RPO, pulling it out when it's appropriate, design draws, obviously his ability to scramble. He barely gets sacked. Like in his past 4 games, he's only been sacked twice for a total of 6 yards lost. So even though obviously I have a great deal of respect for Clemson and what they've done defensively, they have been kind of variable on a week-to-week basis in terms of their performance. They show up against Notre Dame, then a let's down spot they'll have, here and there. With King, 83 yards last game, 90 yards the game before against UNC. BC, 150 rushing yards. Florida, 46. Bowling Green, 28. Wake Forest, 53. Ole Miss, 42. He's only gone under that 25.5 rushing yards mark one time. And that's because it was against South Carolina State, an FCS team, where we ran the ball once because they didn't have to run the ball. They threw for 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, and they cruised to a 48-13 victory. So you literally look at every time he plays an FBS team, he's going well over that. He has an excellent in terms of his pressure to sack rate. That's extremely low. He's one of the best in the country. So when I'm looking at what Haynes King is capable of, I just think even though they're playing against Clemson, the way they're probably going to beat Clemson, if they're going to even compete with them, is they're going to have to establish the ground game so that they're not pinning their ears back and sending, Luca Roro and the rest of Jeremiah Trotter on the blitz, everybody coming off that edge. So that's kind of where I'm at for that. I like Haynes King's over 25.5 rushing yards against Clemson.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think he'll be, I mean, he'll be pressured too. So, I mean, he's going to have to, make plays with his legs, scramble as well. He may take a sack or two, but I think he'll have a couple runs where you see double-digit yardage here. So I like that. Kenneth Drake also said his alts are wild, which I'm sure you could probably get some great value.
Yeah,
40 plus, 50 plus rushing yards.
Yeah, again, if you want to even look at 40, if you go 40 plus, what you're probably getting 2-to-1 money for, that's a number he's hit in 6 of the last 7. So like, if you're looking at the numbers and going by it, and just also watching Haynes King, who was a highly rated Texas A&M, transfer, finally they mercifully got rid of the, their former coaching staff, where they tried to make the transition from the option, and it's not easy to do. And now, new staff in place, it's been a different ball game. Georgia Tech is back, and at least respectable. I don't think you can take that under.
Yeah. Georgia Tech is definitely competing here. They got to end their season with Georgia. Let's see if the Bulldogs can survive their gauntlet and then, play their rivals. Love this comment here because Trista Crick is going to come on here and talk about Alabama versus Kentucky. And I've been trying to hold it in the whole time and not laugh on camera because she's been behind the screen smacking on some pizza, it looks like, getting her calories in for the show. So I say we bring her in now. Vibes are high. We're back to winning bets. Trista was 3-0 when she came on last time. Let's run it back. How are we, Trista?
I was toast. I'm not eating pizza. I'm not a monster.
Toast.
It's toast and butter. Don't do me like that, okay? That's unnecessary shots to assume that I can keep this figure by eating pizza at 10:40 a.m.
Trista's the anti-carbs crew. She knows. She knows what carbs do.
It would be normally a smoothie, but I felt like you could be getting some chia seeds in your teeth.
Right on.
Who knows what kind of madness happens when you drink a smoothie? So I was like, okay, let me keep it cute. And I'm like telling you guys in the back, like, give me a minute. Do not bring me in any at all early. Eric's dropping nuggets on the props game, which is just insane.
I'm with you, Trista. Trust me, the same way. I take the blueberries out of the smoothies before the show if I'm doing a morning smoothie. Bananas only. Yep, good call.
You guys are animals. I can't take it. I had Dunkin' Donuts this morning, so don't talk to me about being healthy at all. Let's talk about Alabama and Kentucky. Tied 10.5-point favorites. Kentucky's the home underdog here. And we just had a question, Trista, about this team in general, and they think Alabama could slip up, lose college football playoffs over. Will that happen today?
I just think people are sleeping on Alabama. I really do.
Me too.
It's crazy to me, guys. Like, you're talking about a team that's not only just won 7 straight, they've covered 5 of their last 6 games too. And I think the reason that this is happening is because Alabama has looked kind of like buns in the first half, and then they figured out a way to win these games late, right? They stomped LSU for their 7th straight win, and yet everyone keeps saying that they're on upset alert. And to me, I think a lot of it is due to the inconsistency for Jalen Milroe. He ends up getting benched. There's a quarterback controversy. He comes back in, but he's like been super underrated. 155 yards rushing, 4 TDs last week, but he's thrown for nearly 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions in the last 6 games. And on top of that, they're 3rd in the country in yards per pass attempt. So I think he has a day. And more importantly, I think that Alabama's defense has come into play. They're 16th in the country in points per game allowed, top 25 in both passing yards per play allowed and rushing yards per play allowed. So I don't think Kentucky's going to be able to move the ball on them, guys. And we know that Devin Leary is mid at very best. He's completing 57% of his passes. That's 104th in the country. Interception rate at just under 3%, 74th in the country. Not great, Bob. Not great. So I think Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell are going to get into the backfield. They're going to live in the backfield, put that boy on his back. 14.5 sacks and 20 tackles for losses combined. I think Leary's in trouble. I really like Alabama minus 10.5.
I love that play.
Nice to see that Trista is a Mad Men fan. Big Pete Campbell quote here. I appreciate that. I got a little prop here in this game. We're going with Tavion Robinson, another All-American. You know, he beat us last week, right? But the previous 5 weeks, he's gone 33 yards or under. He's currently listed at 41.5 yards. I feel like there's an overreaction where Mississippi State is basically given up on the season. We see Armstead taking a ton of heat, replacing the entire staff after Mike Leach's unfortunate passing. It's just been disarray over there. Now they have to go and deal with Alabama this week. No. Just because he went and covered this 41.5 last week doesn't mean he's doing it again. I'm going back against Tavion Robinson. If he beats me 2 weeks in a row, I'm taking him off the All-American props team. That would be unacceptable.
Yeah, you can't lose back-to-back weeks and still be on the show being All-American. Like, if Penn State scores more than 20 today, we're going to have to reevaluate Michigan's defense and where we're talking about them, because 7-2 on the year, can't let that happen. And your guys' cap was so beautiful, I started crying. But honestly, Eric, Why are these lights so bright at this person's house? Like,
because you're a
Where are
star,
you?
Vaughn. You're a star.
These lights are killing me. I'm like trying not to cry this whole show. We're in Happy
Dude,
Valley
I
at some
would've been-
random house.
At somebody, is it an Airbnb, or do you have like some random Penn State booster that's putting you up?
Random Penn State boosters putting us up. Yeah, we're NBC Sports, so they know they wanted us over here. Thank you to the Woodmans. We actually have they actually are faculty of Penn State.
Wow.
We're staying here. Yes, and to Dr. Brad Woodman as well. Great guy. Appreciate all the hospitality.
Yes. Thank you for the hospitality. Just turn down your lights, please.
We're literally right here. We are steps away from Beaver Stadium here in this Airbnb. We wish we could go from there. Instead, I'm in an attic, Trista.
I can see that. Your light is dim and Vaughn's light is super bright. I love it.
Yes. That's the way it should be, in my opinion. Let's stay on the topic. Michigan and Penn State. Wolverines are my plays, Trista. I'm on Michigan minus the 4 and 4.5. I took Penn State's team total under 20.5. Tell me, what are you on? Are you fading or are you riding?
That's interesting, because the thing that I find to be the most fascinating about this game is that the Harbaugh news comes down, right? And it goes the other way.
Yeah.
So it goes from 4.5 to what is now 5.5 on BetMGM.
Ooh.
So the line movement has happened. And I think what the reasoning for that, and we talked about this last night on BetMGM tonight, is all of those Michigan players being like, bet on Twitter, bet. So to me, that's a little bit of an overreaction. I think it should have gone the other way. You don't have Harbaugh on the sidelines. But to me, the bet, I'm going to stay away from the side. I'm taking the under 45.5. Doesn't this feel like the total should have been 38, 39?
Yeah, I definitely thought this was far too high. And we remember Penn State, Ohio State opened at 52.5. And I bet that it got bet down to 44.5. I feel like this is just too high too.
Yeah, Penn State second in the country right now in yards allowed per game. Number 1 in the country at rushing yards allowed per game. Number 3 in the country at points allowed per game. But then on Michigan's side of things, they're no slouch either. They're even better. They have not allowed a single first and goal. So you either hit them with an explosive, folks, or you don't hit them at all. Teams don't sustain drives against Michigan. They're number 1 in yards allowed per game. Number 1 in passing yards allowed per game. Number 1 in points allowed per game. Are we serious? This is a strength-on-strength matchup. It feels like 13-10, 13-6. It's going to come down to me. It's a rock fight game, right? It's going to come down to like a late 4th down conversion missed, a late game INT, a late game fumble recovery, something like that. I would probably lean Penn State first half, but then I look at the Ohio State game and they didn't cover that number. So I love the under. Feels like it should be like a 38, 37.5 total. But for whatever reason, they think there's going to be some fireworks.
I actually love that. I predicted 24-14 for this game, so that would be 38 points right there. So, Eric, what's your prediction? I know you're pulling for Penn State to cover. You want an upset so we could party tonight. I don't.
My prediction is I am going to take Penn State to cover, again, for the sort of the reasons that we've discussed. I do think it will be a closer game. I do think that Michigan is going to be able to throw on them, as I had articulated earlier in the game, as Penn State has allowed teams to cross the 250-yard passing mark in all but 2 games this season. So I do think that will be the way that Michigan does attack this. But, with it going back the other way, getting 5.5 points, like I'll take everything I can get in this game. And I am hoping for a field storming. So I'm selfish since we will be on the field for that. And I want to have that experience. So I am going to, put my heart and my wallet in the same place with Penn State.
A good old-fashioned show bet on the sidelines.
Let's go. I mean, I tell you what, we'll make a wager. I want one of your Mr. T like bling. All right, you bet one of those. Look at the Mr. T type bling. You've got everything but the mohawk here, Trista. You look sensational.
They call me 3 Chains on Twitter.
I love it. You are an OG, Trista.
Yeah, energy is unmatched, like they're saying in the chat. We love it. Hopefully you're with me on this one, Trista, because I'm loving the play so far. I passed on the spread of the Utah-Washington game. I want that Utes money line sprinkle. I want Washington to lose. I want them out of town. I want Oregon in the college football playoff. Am I crazy?
Nothing more than I want Vaughn to be wrong here, honestly. Like I would love Oregon to be in the college football playoff as well. I would probably prefer us to smack Washington in the Pac-12 title game when Washington was undefeated, just to make the drama be more and more exciting for college football fans. But I just think that bettors are holding on to what Kyle Whittingham in Utah was versus what they are, right? Like Cam Rising's not walking through that door. Alex Smith is not walking through that door. Everybody's talking about it. The pig farmer. He is not good. The defense is still their calling card, right? But what they do against good offense, which is they've only played 2 good offenses so far this year. USC put up 32 on their dome piece. Oregon put up 35. That's why I like the Huskies. Number 1 passing offense in the country, and we saw what Oregon did to Utah. At Utah, I gave that out. I ended up going on a bike ride, guys, and ended up listening to the game on the radio with the Utah radio on. Nothing gave me more pleasure. It was like radio porn. They were so sad from the minute that game kicked off. They said Utah, the only thing that good has happened to Utah today was winning the coin toss. And I said, that's damn right, baby. We stormed in there like it was Autzen Stadium. So Bo Nix went in there, threw for 250 yards, 2 TDs, 77% completion rate. It could have been so much more ugly than that too. The short fields that they gave Oregon were enough to make Bo Nix lick his chops. They gave up 7 yards per play to the Ducks. And here's the thing that I think Michael Penix has in his favor. Bo Nix only had 2 incompletions in the first 6 drives combined. Are we kidding me? Seriously. So I think the big money obviously is on Washington, and I'm going to go with the public. I think Penix has a huge day. Washington defense is bad, but I don't know how good Utah's offense is going to be, even though they were able to score on USC. So it's a good old-fashioned what is this? Look at this little caption. Am I rushing Trista? Trista's pick Washington -8. I like it. I like Washington to cover.
Yeah, you can't fault autocorrect for everything, right?
Nope.
Sometimes it is the human error too. That one's probably a human error there. But we'll say it's Eric, not Vaughn. All right, next game is Georgia at Ole Miss. Tris, you're against me on the last pick. You're probably against me with this one too. Eric and I like the over 58 points in this one. Do you like the total or the spread?
Oh, I don't hate that over at all. I mean, you look at Ole Miss offensively, and they can get things done. But I like Georgia. Here's the thing. Georgia, I know they're 2-6-1 against the spread, and it hasn't been fun. But to me, Georgia's the team that when everybody thinks they're going to roll, they make it a close one. And when everyone thinks they're on upset alert, they stomp the yard. They put your teeth there, right there on the curb, and they do a good old-fashioned American history X on you. So you look at games like against Auburn, South Carolina, Missouri, that's close. Then you look at games like Florida and Kentucky, and they go to Pound Town. So I think the key here is that Ole Miss's offensive line is just really bad. 80th in the country in sacks allowed. Georgia's defense 13th in opponent yards per play, 23rd in defensive success rate. So I like Georgia to get after it on this one, simply for the narrative alone, because everybody just keeps saying, is this the game where Georgia falls off?
That's me. It's basically me so far. I've been saying they got to lose a game. They're going to have to lose a game at some point here.
Do they?
I don't think they're going to finish undefeated. I think Alabama could slide in there for the college football playoff. It's more of what I want to happen, I think. But
I like Eric more than you as a bettor because he feels less emotionally inclined, except for this Penn State field storming scenario.
These are money line sprinkles for me. I want to say I'm betting because the value. But 61%, you could pass on me, Trista, excuse me. And ride with Eric. He's 69%, so I like it too. But
nice.
We need a people's parlay pick from you because you delivered last time you were on.
Let's go, Trista.
We need it. We need it.
My people's parlay pick is the under 45.5 in the Penn State Michigan game. I hope it is a snooze fest for you guys. I hope it's just a ton of 3 and outs. That feels like I'm the most confident in that bet pretty much out of those 4.
I love that one. I'm going to be on the under 2. Then I'm going to place it right after this show.
As long as
We
it's a close
appreciate you,
game. We just
Trista.
want a close game while we're there. That's a fun game. I know Vaughn doesn't. That's what I want.
We want both teams to enjoy themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, we
And the
want
fans-
everybody to have fun.
Fans. Well, us.
Yeah.
We want to enjoy it.
I made this joke too. I think like what's to stop Harbaugh from like getting on Zoom like Lane Kiffin did when he had COVID.
Nothing.
You know, like if he's gonna quit and go to the NFL anyway, why wouldn't I just continue to rack up violations?
Yeah, it's like a WWE wrestling match when somebody's barred from ringside. You know they're showing up if they're barred from ringside. That's the tell.
My God, that's Jim Harbaugh's music.
My God, King. Is that Jim Harbaugh?
Barna.
He's stomping a mud hole in Penn State.
It's like that's not Jim Harbaugh. That's Jack Harbaugh with the mustache.
Right. The Bobby Valentine routine from when he was in the dugout. He put on the Groucho Marx. You know.
Yes.
That would be perfect. That would be so Harbaugh.
He's like
It
wearing
hurts.
it's like him in like a toupee in Penn State gear on the sidelines with a clipboard.
Yeah, just a Mark Davis toupee. Since
He's already there.
He'd probably be coaching the Raiders, so it would be an homage, just the straight, the Dutch boy cut.
Yeah, he's already there anyway. They didn't give the ruling until he had already flown in.
Yep. An homage to Mark Davis. I love your idea, Trista. Right on the money.
Ah, you guys are awesome.
I could not hear Eric outside of my AirPods until that moment when you guys started making wrestling references. At least that's what I think you guys were doing there. Because
Yeah, we were.
I'm not as culturally
Trust me on that
inclined
one.
as Pierce.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but love the picks, Trista. Washington -8, Georgia -10, Penn State versus Michigan under 45, Alabama -10. Bunch of favorites today. No dogs barking. Let's see what happens.
We'll see if my Oregon Ducks can roll. I know they're really good against the spread, but it's a night game. It's Pac-12 after dark. Let's make sure we go to sleep and we wake up and nothing bad happens.
Sounds
Hey,
good.
I got the Ducks
Trista.
-15.5. So
Hell
I
yeah.
got you covered.
Thank you. Let's go.
All right,
We got to get to
Trista.
this tailgate.
Thank you.
All
See
right,
you
guys.
later.
Thanks so much for having me.
Bye,
Thank
Trista.
you. All right,
right,
a bunch
best
of good
bets
plays
now.
there. Yeah.
Best bet to know, Vaughn.
Yeah, I forgot about best
gotta
bets.
do
Holy
here.
crap. Well, if you guys stuck around this long, you're getting the winners. You already
Yep,
got a
you
bunch
get-
of them. Go, Derek.
I've been saving this one all show, so this will be my outro. John Reese Plumlee, UCF versus the combustible Oklahoma State. I mean, come on. These two teams breed shootouts. This game is going to the moon. Ollie Gordon on one side, listed 149.5 rushing yards. Wow. That is as large a rushing over as you'll ever see. I can't take the over. I can't take the under either because Ollie Gordon has gone nuclear. And let's face it, UCF probably has this, I think, the second worst rush defense in the entire Power Five. But John Reese Plumlee opened up at 225.5, right? That's what we got there. Up to 235.5. I still think this is an absolute smash play. You're looking at another alt line. I think you could certainly consider at 300 plus passing yards. It'd be plus 360. Since he came back, if he's not injured, he's clearing this every single game. And that's now we're playing Oklahoma State, where the Flying Gundies are just all about the overs. I mean, that's what they do. And I love watching the games. They're always exciting. Coming off that Oklahoma victory, again, another back and forth type contest. This game is ready to go to the moon. It's always a tough proposition picking on the UCF receivers. It's going to be Javon Baker. It's going to be Kobe Hudson. Like, which one's going to break out? But I do know John Reese Plumlee is an absolute wheels up best bet. 7-4 so far this year. Going 8-4 after this. Take the over on Plumlee and definitely consider that alt line sprinkle at plus 360.
Yeah, no, absolutely love that play too. And you'd have a much better record if you didn't have so many voids or pushes because the players didn't play or, didn't get a target or anything. So, yeah, I'm with you 100% there. Big fan of John Reese Plumlee, what he can do when he's healthy. I'm bringing back two best bets because we lost last week on the Michigan team total under or Purdue team total under against Michigan with 18 seconds left. Total BS. I was mad. I know you were too. We're going Penn State team total under 20.5 as the best bet here in person. And then Iowa versus Rutgers under 28.5, minus 120 odds would play it at 28, obviously. We broke down both those earlier in the show. And for my people's parlay piece, I'm using Iowa versus Rutgers under 28 because I wanted to go Michigan money line, but Trista gave us a Michigan pick, so can't do that. Eric, what's your people's parlay pick? And then we are out of here, man.
Yes, my people's parlay pick is going to be the over. I am sort of over heavy this week for whatever it is worth. The over on Missouri versus who are they playing again? I'm trying to find it here on this. Missouri. Oh, Tennessee at Missouri. It's listed at 58 right now on BetMGM. My gosh, I can't see this getting held under 60 points. Tennessee, sure, have they been pretty good on defense? Absolutely. But Missouri has proven that they can move the ball and score points. They looked pretty good, 19 points last week against Georgia. As we mentioned, Cody Schrader going for 112. Pretty sure we got Luther Burden. That's a very important piece here. He should be another week healthier. He's been battling injuries all season, but he is, in my estimation, the most dynamic sophomore or freshman wide receiver in the country. I just think with both of these teams, this is going over 58 total. All about it. Give me the people's parlay.
Yes, and I just added up the odds right now on my phone to try and get the most up to date. So we are 3-8 plus 1.7 units because they're all, plus 400, plus 500 or better. Plus 1217. I like this one a lot. I'd have felt really lucky if it's at 1216 because that's my birthday.
Eric. Wow.
But plus 1217. Those are great odds for those bets there. So let me fix this here for you because it's under 45 there. And then but I like that play. So let's ride with the plus 1217 odds. We're going with the over in Navy's game, over in Tennessee, under in Michigan-Penn State, under in Iowa. That sounds pretty good to me in my book. So, Eric, say your last thoughts today. Your score prediction for Michigan-Penn State from Happy Valley.
My score prediction from Happy Valley, I'll tell you, I'll go 24-20 so that you get to cash your under, Vaughn. And they stay within the spread, and I think Michigan ends up outlasting Penn State, unfortunately. But I'm hoping for a field storming. Yes,
I am hoping for a good game here, not a field storm. And make sure you guys check us out on X at CFF Froton, at V-Money Sports. Check us at NBCSports.com for all our bets. And Coach Chad, I know you want some college hoops action, baby. We're 5-0 to start the season, but you got to go to NBCSports.com for that. So.
We got a tailgate to go to. Sorry, Coach.
Yes, it's time to party, baby. All right, guys. See you later. Appreciate you watching. Thank you.